A ceasefire existed, a signed agreement sat on paper, and yet the fighting continued. American warships moved through regional waters. Iranian officials defended their actions publicly. The United States said it was protecting commercial shipping. Cargo vessels crossed international trade routes. Iran said it was defending its sovereignty. Iranian flags flew over government buildings. Both sides accused the other of violating the agreement. Competing press conferences blamed the other side. Both sides claimed self-defense. Military spokespeople addressed national audiences. Both sides insisted they were responding. Neither side admitted escalation. That creates a strange contradiction. A ceasefire existed, but peace did not. If a ceasefire stops conflict, why did neither side act like the conflict ended? Maps of the Middle East filled television screens. The answer reaches beyond America and Iran. The answer reaches into how conflicts survive. A ceasefire can stop shooting. A ceasefire cannot automatically create peace. Military exchanges resumed in late June 2026. News headlines reported renewed escalation. American and Iranian forces exchanged strikes. Explosions appeared across regional news footage. The agreement remained technically in place. The violence continued anyway. Reports described the worst escalation since the ceasefire. News graphics highlighted rising tensions. A tanker was struck near the Strait of Hormuz. Damaged shipping footage circulated worldwide. American officials blamed Iran. Iranian officials blamed the United States. Negotiators returned to the table. Distrust returned with them. Most coverage focused on immediate questions. Who violated the ceasefire first? Investigators examined competing claims. Who reignited the conflict? News panels debated responsibility. Who was telling the truth? Reporters chased contradictory statements. Those questions matter, but they may not matter most. Even if every accusation were resolved, a deeper mystery would remain. Why are some conflicts so difficult to stop? Why do enemies keep fighting after agreeing to stop? To answer that question, we must look beyond individual strikes. We must examine the system underneath the conflict. The common assumption seems simple. War happens because enemies want war. Peace happens when leaders choose peace. History suggests something more complicated. Many conflicts continue despite exhaustion. Many conflicts continue despite negotiations. Many conflicts continue despite ceasefires. The problem is not always desire. The problem is trust, or more precisely, the lack of trust. Political scientists have a name for this problem: the security dilemma. The idea is surprisingly simple. One side takes defensive action. The other side sees offensive intent. The first side reacts. The second side reacts. Fear begins multiplying. Military preparations increase. Suspicion grows. The cycle continues. Both sides believe they are defending themselves. Both sides increase insecurity. Both sides make conflict more likely. That is the security dilemma. And it sits at the center of U.S. Iran tensions. The United States sees Iranian missiles. Missile launch footage appears on screen. The United States sees drones. Drone swarms cross desert skies. The United States sees armed regional networks. Maps show Iranian-linked groups. The United States sees threats to shipping. Tankers move through narrow waterways. American officials see instability. Iran sees American sanctions. Economic charts display restrictions. Iran sees American military bases. Satellite images show regional installations. Iran sees regional alliances. Diplomatic meetings appear on screen. Iran sees military strikes. Archived footage shows explosions. Iranian leaders see threats to sovereignty. Neither side necessarily sees itself as aggressive. Both sides see themselves as reactive. Both sides believe they are responding to danger. That is what makes the situation dangerous. Defensive actions can resemble preparations for attack. Fear becomes self-reinforcing. But fear alone does not explain everything. Another problem may be even more important. Political scientist Robert Powell calls it the commitment problem. The issue is not always choosing war. The issue is believing promises. Imagine Iran reduces military activity. Iranian commanders stand down operations. Iran may fear American pressure will increase elsewhere. Decision-makers review worst-case scenarios. Now reverse the situation. Imagine the United States reduces pressure. American officials pause enforcement measures. Washington may fear Iran gaining leverage. Iran may strengthen regional influence. Iran may expand military capabilities. Iran may improve negotiating positions. Both sides may want peace today. Both sides fear tomorrow. Both sides worry about exploitation. That creates a powerful obstacle. Peace requires trust. Trust is exactly what both sides lack. This may be the most important insight. Peace does not always fail because enemies refuse. Peace often fails because enemies fear trusting first. And history makes that fear stronger. The United States and Iran are not reacting only to today. They are reacting to decades of memory. Historical footage from 1953 appears. Iranian Prime Minister Mohammad Mosaddegh enters the story. The United States and Britain supported his overthrow. Oil disputes fueled tensions. Cold War fears influenced decisions. Many Iranians saw betrayal. Many Iranians learned distrust. Then came 1979. Crowds gathered outside the U.S. Embassy. Iranian students seized the compound. American hostages remained captive. The crisis lasted 444 days. Many Americans saw hostility. Many Americans learned distrust. Then came the nuclear dispute. Centrifuges appeared in international reports. Suspicion deepened. Then came the Soleimani strike. A drone strike killed Qasem Soleimani in 2020. Another wound entered the relationship. Each crisis left scars. Each scar reinforced fear. Each new confrontation revived old memories. History matters, not as a background, as infrastructure. The past shapes the present. Every incident arrives carrying decades of baggage, emotional baggage, political baggage, strategic baggage, historical baggage. The conflict never starts from zero. But even that is not the whole story. The conflict extends beyond Washington and Tehran. The conflict spreads across a region. A ceasefire between governments sounds straightforward. Reality is rarely straightforward. The conflict operates through networks, alliances, partners, militias, proxy groups, regional actors. Even if governments stop fighting, other groups may continue. Violence becomes distributed. Responsibility becomes harder to trace. Accountability becomes harder to enforce. Retaliation becomes easier to justify. The cycle continues. Politics adds another layer. Leaders do not operate alone. American leaders face voters. American leaders face political rivals. American leaders face military institutions. American leaders face allies. Iranian leaders face factions. Iranian leaders face ideological supporters. Iranian leaders face security institutions. Iranian leaders face domestic audiences. Compromise carries risks. Appearing weak can carry greater risks. Sometimes leaders fear their own side. Sometimes leaders fear political consequences. Sometimes leaders fear compromise. The obstacle is not only the enemy, the obstacle may be the audience. Then there is the Strait of Hormuz. A narrow waterway appears on a map. The channel looks surprisingly small. Its importance is enormous. It is one of Earth's major energy choke points. Oil tankers move through the corridor daily. Global energy markets depend on it. Millions of barrels pass through every day. A military incident here affects everyone. Fuel prices can rise. Shipping costs can increase. Insurance rates can climb. Inflation pressures can spread. Financial markets can react. The consequences become global. A tanker attack in one waterway can affect families thousands of miles away. People who never heard of the dispute. People who never studied the region. People who simply buy fuel. At this point, a larger pattern emerges. Historical mistrust makes commitments harder. Commitment problems increase insecurity. Insecurity encourages military preparation. Military preparation increases suspicion. Suspicion strengthens proxy activity. Proxy activity encourages retaliation. Retaliation creates new grievances. New grievances restart the cycle. The conflict becomes self-reinforcing. The system sustains itself. And that leads to a troubling conclusion. Wars often persist because systems persist. Not simply because leaders choose war, but if conflict is sustained by systems, can peace be built through systems? The answer is yes. And it may be the most important lesson. Many people think peace begins with signatures. Peace researchers often disagree. Peace is not an event. Peace is infrastructure. Institutions create peace. Communication creates peace. Verification creates peace. Trust building creates peace. Consider proxy warfare. One solution is accountability architecture, direct communication channels, joint commissions, monitoring systems, verification mechanisms, structures that identify violations, structures that discourage denial. Consider historical mistrust. One solution is confidence-building measures, prisoner exchanges, humanitarian cooperation, scientific cooperation, military communication, small agreements, repeated commitments, promises kept over time. Trust is rarely negotiated into existence. Trust accumulates gradually. Trust grows through fulfilled commitments. Trust grows through repetition. Trust grows through predictability. Consider the commitment problem. One solution is verification, inspections, observers, satellite monitoring, reporting systems, information exchanges, transparency mechanisms. Stable peace often emerges through verification, not blind trust, not perfect trust, verifiable trust. Transparency reduces uncertainty. Transparency raises the cost of cheating. Consider miscalculation. Many conflicts continue through misunderstanding. One side fears an attack, the other side fears retaliation. Both react to assumptions. Both react to fears. Military hotlines help. Direct communication helps. Advanced notifications help. Incident reporting systems help. These mechanisms reduce uncertainty. These mechanisms prevent accidents. These mechanisms prevent escalation. Viewed this way, the deeper lesson is not about America. The deeper lesson is not about Iran. The deeper lesson is about human conflict. We imagine war and peace as choices. Reality is often more complex. War is a system. Peace is a system. War emerges when fear reinforces conflict. War emerges when incentives reward escalation. War emerges when institutions fail. Peace emerges when incentives reward cooperation. Peace emerges when communication improves. Peace emerges when verification increases. Peace emerges when institutions reinforce stability. Building war can happen accidentally. Building peace usually requires effort, deliberate effort, sustained effort, institutional effort. Which brings us back to the original question. Why can't the United States and Iran stop fighting, even after a ceasefire? Because the conflict is no longer one disagreement. It is an interconnected system, a system of mistrust, a system of fear, a system of strategic competition, a system of historical grievances, a system of proxy actors, a system of political pressures, a system of geographic realities. A ceasefire can interrupt that system. A ceasefire cannot replace that system. And that may be the most important insight. A ceasefire stops shooting. Peace requires something more. Peace begins when societies build systems. Systems that reward cooperation. Systems that reduce fear. Systems that increase transparency. Systems that make conflict less useful. The future of the U.S.-Iran relations may depend on that challenge. Not quickly, not easily, but deliberately. Because if conflict can become embedded in a system, perhaps peace can as well.